Hello everyone, I am Ron and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollins High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial.
Alright, we are back. So last time we were doing the face UVs, now we're going to go do the body UVs. Let me zoom out here, and I will select the model. I'm going to start with the torso. I'm going to go, this is the front view, and I'm going to grab face mode. I'm going to turn off soft select here. And I'm going to marquee. I'm going to try to grab as much of the torso as I can without grabbing anything else here. So right about there. That looks fine. And I'm going to deselect these arms, just holding Control, and then I'll marquee there, and I'll do the same thing here. All right. Now, if you remember from the previous video, on the neck, we captured the face down to about here, and then you can actually see it lined up here. So if I hover this bottom row, you can see it popping up in the screen to the right here on the UV panel. So I have these captured, and these are captured. So I'm going to go into Paint Selected Faces, and I will capture here. And I'm just being careful to not recapture what I already have. I'll double check, make sure I have everything that I need. So this top row, or this upper row, I can take. So let me grab this and see if I can, there we go. Now I captured that row by selecting the first one. I'll do that again. So I have these two selected, and then I will hold shift and then double click there, and it'll just try to finish the connection all the way through. And it seemed to work. Now this row here on the shoulder, you could technically take as part of the torso. And I think I will grab these. Same deal, I'm going to click, hold shift, and then click again. I think that'll work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my UV panel. And actually, I gotta do these bottom ones here. So these ones along my lower abdomen, I will follow that around as well. That works. And I'll leave this group for the lower half of the body. Oh, that's not good. It looks like I inadvertently have a line selected. Let me Control Z. And I will do these manually. I can't use a double clicking trick because it's cutting through the face here. So I will get my Paint Selected Faces tool, and I'll just do it by hand. Okay. Alright, now that I have everything that I want selected, I will come back over to my UV panel. And remember that our face is on its own UV shell. So I will right click, I'll go down to UV sets, and I will grab map 1. And this is the UV shell from all of my body parts. Just like I did with the face, I'm going to take a front projection of this first. So I'm going to grab the UVs. So I'm going to come down to, planar. Grab my options box. And the front of my model is in the Z. So there's Z. This is the front of the model. And I will hit Z. And then I will hit apply. And there's my torso. All nice and neat and ready for me. The rest of my body parts, I'm going to select them and just kind of move them off of the panel. And I will project this as I go. So here's the torso. Reselect all that. Now, as I described earlier in the previous video, we're going to create a seam up the side of the torso. Now, you can do this in one of two ways. You can follow the seam all the way up and then along the other side, and then you'll have this piece kind of unfold with the neck sort of in the middle. Or you can do the front and the back as two separate shells. So either way is fine. It'll get the same result. The only issue is if you do the front and back as two separate shells, you will have a greater chance of seeing a seam right here on the arm connecting to the neck, which you might want to avoid. So it just depends on how you're going to be painting your model. So I'm going to go into edge mode. And I'm going to select, and you can see in the model over here the edges that are updating when I go ahead and select. I'm also going to turn I'm going to turn symmetry on. So in my tools panel, I'm going to go over to symmetry and turn my X symmetry on. Remember that this only works if your mesh is symmetrical and on the center axis. So I'm just lining up to the ones that I can see here. So as I hover, you'll see that they turn blue in the panel there. So I'm grabbing this edge, and I'm going to follow all the way up the body. And the reason I'm choosing this line to be the seam is the arms, as they're hanging down, will hide most of this seam from us. I got that one. All right, so now that I have these seams on the bottom here selected, I'm going to go ahead and cut them. I'm going to go to polygons, cut UV edges. Go back to UVs, I will select my model. Now I only cut on this bottom edge, so when I unfold this, it should just unfold kind of a top and bottom sort of selection here. So here's one group, and there's the other group kind of unfolded. Now this didn't unfold favorably, so I'm going to use the smooth tool, and then smooth tool, and let's unfold this some more. We'll relax, unfold. And over a few passes, I'm getting something that I can use. Alright, so here's my front and my back. They look pretty even. All I have to do now is this center section, which is the neck. So I'm going to select this group best I can here. I don't want these ones, but I think I'll get the majority of this loop going around. Rid of them. Alright, let's bring back my smooth tool. Going to relax that. Let's unfold a little. And that looks like it'll probably be about as good as it'll get on there. Let's grab the smudge tool here. Actually, let me grab that group again. Smudge tool. And my brush is probably pretty huge, so I'm going to drop it down. All I'm trying to do here is even out some of these that are really bunched. All right. If I zoom out, I have this kind of tiny little body. I'm going to expand this, and then I'll rotate. And I think I'll rotate it to where the bottom and the top are aligned. So this will be the bottom or the front of my torso here. This is the front, and this is the back. Now, if you like this and you're happy with that, feel free to keep it. If you do not like the way this is as far as your unwrap, you are welcome to continue that edge cut all the way up to the neck and just project the front and the back as two separate shells. To see what that looks like, I'll show you, but you don't really need to do that. This is just an alternative if you want it. So if you're happy with this, move on, skip ahead in the video and just move on to the arm, which I'm going to be doing next. So let's say that you don't like this and you want to do it a different way. Well, then we can take this edge and follow it up the body. Again, I'm only going through as far as it goes to here. So you can see the edge kind of cuts all the way through there. And I will do a cut for my UV edges. Cut edges. So my two shells. And what I'll do is I will reproject. So I will grab faces, and I will project this from the front. Oh, sorry. And then I will do a simple unfold. UVs. Smooth, and we'll just unfold it. So there is the front of the body unfolded, and that unfolds pretty cleanly. And then we have the back of the body Oh, I have that tool selected. Grab all those faces. And then up, polygons, planar. All right, so there's the back of my torso. And as always, I'm going to try Maya's tools first, and then I'm going to do it by hand if it doesn't work. So I'm going to hit unfold. And that isn't horrible. Let's see what I end up getting. Smooth tool. Sure. It's actually not too bad. I will just go ahead and rotate these. Size it up. And there we go. Now this is a little bit more bunched in the back than it is in the front. But I think that's how it ends up flowing on the neck. It is, yeah. So there's a front and a back if you decide to do it this particular method. From here, I'm going to go ahead and do the arms. I'm going to jump into the front view, and I'm going to go into face mode. And now I'm going to select the arm from about here down. So I'm going to grab this. And I'm going to go all the way down to the wrist. And I'll capture that. Now you do see that I end up capturing some that's on here. I don't want these UVs, so what I can do, I can marquee select in here, or I can marquee select in here. Either one works. If I marquee here, I risk hitting these edges there and deselecting. Okay, so what I can do is I can go here with a nice and flat, and I'll just marquee across. I'm holding control, and then do that, and they will just cleanly let those go. Nope. And I'll jump into my perspective view, and I will get the wrist all the way around. And that seemed to work. I just selected and double clicked. And there we go. I'm going to leave these two lines as the edge of my wrist. Okay? It's up to you if you want them to be part of your arm, but it looks like it's fine as the wrist. There we are. I'm going to project these. Front view looks like it'll be alright. So UVs go down to planar. And I should have my front already selected. I do. I'll just hit apply. And there's my front projection of my arms. And then I will also add a seam, but I'm going to add the seam underneath the arm here. The reason I'm going underneath the arm is the same reason I did on the side. This will let us hide it from view if we ever have to have anything that mismatches. So I'm just going to grab this edge and I'll follow it. Oops. Up the body. Now I do have symmetry, again, I do have symmetry mode turned on, and I know you might be asking, well, I thought UVs do not work on symmetry mode. I'm not selecting UVs, I'm selecting edges. So edges seem to work. Now my seam is, if I look here visually, it looks off center. And that bugs me. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I will move it more toward the center line. So instead of this edge, I'm going to click here and then follow this back down. Because I noticed it was off center and it did bug me. So there's that. To make sure I have all those edges selected, I will zoom in. And it looks like I do have all the ones I need selected. What about you? Okay. So with those selected, I will cut. So polygons, cut UV edges. Both of those are cut. I'm going to unfold. Let me see if I can unfold both at the same time. I'll grab both arms. Polygons, unfold. And it didn't do a terrible job. Let me go ahead and orient these. So I'll grab this one. And actually, I'll just do UVs. So I'll grab UVs, double click, and I will orient this. Actually, left and right would probably work just fine. I'll arrange this way. Just because I know on my shell I'm going to need some space. And that one looks like it's vertical enough. That'll work. Grab my arms. And I'll move this over here somewhere. Now eventually I will arrange these in some strategic pattern. From the arms, I'm going to go ahead and do my hands, but before that I'm going to save. So I'm going to go to File, and I will save this as the next iteration. That's going to be 14 on my list. Now actually I'm going to wait on the hands. The hands and feet are going to be done kind of similarly. I'm going to do the torso, or the legs and the groin next. So here's what I'll do. On the face mode. And I'm looking in this panel here to see what UVs highlight. When I put the when I hover here, you can see in the UV panel that these ones do highlight, so I know that this is this line on my torso. So I'm going to grab these UVs, or these faces here, when I do my marquee selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this lower torso area, and then I'll do the legs as a separate piece. I really should have added this to my upper torso. But, you know, live and learn. You can see in my UV panel here that I ended up getting UVs that go up the spine. I don't want those. So I'm going to deselect them in here. And I don't want these ones selected either. And you can see that these ones are yellow, which means that they are connected to those, so I will deselect that row. And I kind of have these swimming trunks kind of thing going on. I'm going to deselect this row. And I will get this row gone. There's sort of like the bikini line. And you can see right here on the back of the legs I have these selected. I don't want those either. I'm going to go around once more, make sure there's no strays. Alright, now I will project again. Planar. And there we go. My Superman trunks. Same kind of deal. I'm going to cut this along the edge, and then I'm going to separate them. Now I may end up attaching this to the torso that we have up here. Don't worry. Not too complicated. So in my perspective, I'll go into edge mode, and when I took the ribs, I took this edge. So I'm going to follow that down. To this one. And then I have my bikini line coming down. That looks like the last edge there. And I will come underneath, and I will just split that edge there. so that'll give me a front and a back section. So polygons, cut UV edges, and that does give me two separate shells. There's my front shell, my back shell. I'm going to very quickly use Maya's tools just to see what I get when I unfold. That's horrible. Let's see what the smooth tool does for me. That's a little more even. Okay, that's my front. I'll grab this one. So I'm going to go to polygons and hit unfold and see if I get something else. And this one came out nicer doing it that way. I will rotate it. And let's see if I can clean it up just a tad with the smooth tool. Okay. And this I can reattach to here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to grab the edge. So edge mode, and I'll just grab this edge. Whoops. Not you. And you can see that in edge mode, it is not grabbing symmetrically in this panel because Maya. All right, I have those selected, and I will do a polygons move and sew. Well, that's bizarre. Let me see if I can scale this down, since it's not going to auto scale for me. Let me see if I can scale it. That looks to be more appropriate. And now let's move and sew. Do the same thing with this one. Grab it. Let's move it into position, and I will go ahead and do my scale. And that looks like I got it pretty close on the first try. Polygons, move and sew. See those bunched up a little. So I'll grab the UVs along this group here. How far did I go? So I've got 9 over here, 9 over there. And let's see if I can use my smooth tool to adjust that. So unfold it. Let's relax a little. Unfold. It's got some love handles, okay. Grab these. And all I'm doing is trying to make them a little bit even on both sides here. Good enough. So here's one. Here's the back. Now I can do the legs. Just like the arms, I will select both the legs in the same grab. So I'm going to grab these down to about here. You can look at the foot. I'm just above the ankle here. I think that's fine. Just at the ankle is fine. And I will deselect these ones here by going to my UV panel, and I will just hold Control and I will select that area. And then this one, I can select these. Now, just like before, since I held Shift and double click to get that line, I'm going to make sure it didn't grab anything extra. So I'm going to go to my UV set, go to my face, make sure nothing is selected here. Looks good. Go back to my map 1. Okay. And now I will project from the front. So UV planar. There are my legs. And just like I did with the arm, I'm going to cut a seam up the inseam of the leg here, kind of like a pant leg. Like on a pair of jeans, there's a seam right here. I'm going to do that on my legs. So grab edge mode, and I will look at where the center line is. I'm going to zoom out so I can see here. I should be able to see that center line, highlight, and I do. So that is the center line, and I'll just grab that, and I'll come down. Now we'll make sure that that's the last one on my panel here. It is. So now I can cut that. Polygons. Cut edges. And just like I did with the arms, I'm going to try to unfold both of these at the same time just to speed up our process here. I'll hit unfold. And those came out a lot like the arms did. Pretty decent. I'm going to move them off so I can see what I'm doing. Let's orient these. So and I am going to do these upside down, left and right. That way they can fit on the shell a little nicer. And I'll just move this back to here. Let's see. Those are good. There's a little bit of twisting here, so I'm going to move that. Everything else I think I'm pretty happy with. So legs and arms.